Welcome everyone, this is Amer from U Council. In our previous lecture, we talked about employment insurance benefits in general. We explained to you some of the types of employment insurance benefits that are available, and then we talked specifically about regular benefits that you get after your employment has ended. Today we'll talk about sickness benefits. A lot of people are not familiar with sickness benefits, the eligibility criteria, the duration, the amount. So we'll cover those topics in today's lecture. We begin with our usual disclaimer that this course is not legal advice, so if you have any specific questions, you must contact a lawyer or a paralegal with the Law Society of Upper Canada, and in this case, you can contact Service Canada for more information about your entitlement to employment insurance benefits, sickness benefits. We'll explain to you fundamentally what are sickness benefits. We'll talk about some other types of EI benefits, just basically telling you what are the other types. We'll explain to you the eligibility criteria for sickness benefits, some discussion about EI sickness benefits versus short-term disability benefits, if those are benefits that are available to you in your workplace, when to apply for EI sickness benefits, how much benefits do you get, for how long, and where to apply. Employment insurance benefits for sickness is also a government program, and it provides temporary financial assistance for people who are unable to work because of sickness, injury, or quarantine. If they're quarantined because of any medical issues, then those are the three situations in which you may be entitled to employment insurance sickness benefits. Some of the other types of employment insurance benefits we have talked about briefly in the previous lecture. They're regular benefits, sickness that we're discussing today, maternity, parental benefits, compassionate care, parents of critically ill or injured children, fishing, and developmental program benefits. Let's jump into the eligibility criteria for sickness benefits. The first condition, as in all employment insurance benefits, is that you are employed in an insurable employment. And what is an insurable employment? It is easy to determine. You can look at your pay stub and you will see that there is a deduction for EI employment insurance that indicates that you are working in an employment that is insurable and that the remittances are being sent to CRA on this account. If you're unclear, you can contact your employer to make sure that you are in an insurable employment. If you are self-employed, you should know whether you're registered with employment insurance or not and making payments for the EI. Second part for the eligibility is that you must meet specific criteria for sickness benefits, usually a doctor's certificate that indicates that you are unable to work and indicates the duration for which you may not be able to work is usually sufficient. You must obtain, before applying for sickness benefits, you must obtain a doctor's certificate and keep it handy. It is not required to be submitted as part of the application, but the Service Canada people may ask you to provide them a copy or provide the original certificate, so you must have it before you apply for your sickness benefits. Third eligibility requirement is that your weekly earnings, normal weekly earnings, have been reduced by more than 40%. Obviously, if you're unable to work at all, then your income has gone down to zero, but there may be other circumstances where you may be partially working for a few hours here and there, and so your earning has dropped significantly, more than 40%, and that is another condition that you must meet to apply for sickness benefits. And finally, you must have accumulated at least 600 hours of insurable employment during the qualifying period. That's important. So you are in insurable employment, you have accumulated 600 hours of insurable employment during the qualifying period, and we've explained what is a qualifying period in our previous lecture, but briefly speaking, qualifying period is within the last 52 weeks. So you must have 600 of insurable employment hours within the last 52 weeks. But if you had applied previously for another EI benefit during the 52 weeks period, then the qualifying period is the period from the commencement of your previous benefits to the commencement or the application of the new benefit. So 600 hours are required. A quick discussion about EI, sickness benefits versus short-term disability benefits plan. you may be employed with a company that have their own group benefits plan through a third-party insurer or by themselves, and it may have short-term disability benefits, long-term disability benefits, medical benefits, etc. So if you are unclear, you must contact your human resources and find out whether you have a benefit plans that covers short-term disability benefits. You should also find out what is the available period for those short-term disability benefits. Most often, the short-term disability benefits are about 3 months, sometimes about 6 months. So I have not seen a short-term disability benefits plan which is less than 3 months. It is possible, but normally 3 months to 6 months is sort of the general range. So find out what is the duration of the available short-term disability benefits plan. The requirement for short-term disability benefits plan under the insurer may be different than the requirements under the EI. So you need to qualify separately if you're applying for short-term disability benefits plan. You should also confirm the benefits amount. How much money will you get under short-term disability benefits plan? And then you may also need to consider your future medical needs. If you have to go, if your circumstances, medical circumstances are such that you expect to be on long-term disability benefits later on, then you may need to consider that as well, because you may have to go on a short-term disability benefits plan first and then be eligible for a long-term disability benefits plan. So it all depends upon what are the terms and conditions of the group benefits plan that your employer has negotiated with the insurer. So you need to find that out either from your human resources or get the contact information of the third-party insurer and then contact them to obtain that information. So what the lesson or the item that you want to keep in mind with respect to EI sickness benefits and short-term disability benefits is that if your employer does provide short-term disability benefits, then ideally you want to apply for short-term disability benefits and not the EI sickness benefits, based upon another factor that you want to keep in mind is that these benefits may be deductible. So if you apply for EI sickness benefits and you have short-term disability benefits, then those short-term disability benefits may be deducted. So you want to make sure that you're clear about the availability of short-term disability benefits in your employment. If you don't have an option to apply for short-term disability benefits, then of course you can apply for sickness benefits under the EI program. How much money do you get? It is not based on your needs. It's not based on your financial obligations. It is calculated on the basis of 55% of your average insurable weekly earning. So the maximum amount you can get is $543 per week at present time. This may change if the legislation changes, but at this point, $543 gross income per week is the maximum amount. And if you're making about $50,000 plus, then you get $543 per week. But if your income is less, then this amount will be less. There's a 1 week waiting period. Consider it a deductible period in which you don't get any sickness benefits. And the first payment of your sickness benefits, you receive it within 28 days after you have completed your application. So you have filed your application and all other documents that may be required. They've all been submitted to EI, and then within 28 days of that, you will get your first payment. Remember that all EI benefits are taxable income. So the money you get, the taxes are deducted, and then you get the net payment. The duration of sickness benefits is 15 weeks maximum. So if you, for any reason, are ill for longer than 15 weeks, you will not get any more benefits from the EI system. When and where to apply, as I mentioned earlier, there is a 7 days waiting period, but you must apply immediately. Do not delay the application process. And if your record of employment has not been issued yet, you should still apply for it so that your application is in the system and it is being processed. You can apply online or attending at a Service Canada office near your home or near your place. Here are the two websites. That one is for the application, the online application, and the other one is general information about different kinds of benefits. I will put these links in the description below this video, and by all means you can click on there and go to these websites. I hope this gives you a brief sense of what are EI sickness benefits, eligibility criteria, and amount. And if you have any questions about any of the things that we have talked about today, by all means send us an email or contact us and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next lecture. Thank you for watching.